Hello, it's Ryan from 2minutetennis.net, and in this video, I'm going to show you what you can learn from the Simona Halep forehand to help improve your forehand. So first, a big thank you goes over to Jorge Capistani Tennis for allowing me to use this video. I have put his link in the description below. You need to subscribe to Jorge. Incredible coach, just amazing world-class instructor, and he has both pro footage and incredible instructional material on his channel, so make sure you subscribe. An incredible channel. So the first thing is notice her racket is high. If you want more control on your forehand, it's going to come from imparting spin, but you need racket speed to impart this spin. So when you take your racket back, take it back high. And you can see Halep is doing that. She's taking her racket back high. When your racket is high in the back, you then get gravity-assisted racket speed as the racket drops. It's like driving your car or riding your bike downhill. You can go faster. So we want the racket to be going down on its path to the ball. You want the racket dropping. Remember, her racket was up here. So you want the racket up, and then it's going to drop down. Now, when it drops, it needs to close. So notice her strings are pointing down. Closing the racket face simply means if your racket was a mirror, then the reflection would be pointing at the ground, right? You want the ground in the reflection of the mirror. You don't want the racket dropping on its edge like it's a knife cutting through a stick of butter. As the racket drops, be sure, and by the way, I keep saying be sure that you're doing this. How will you know that you're doing this? You're going to film yourself and you're going to compare what you see when you film yourself hitting a forehand to what you're learning in this video. It's that simple. You're going to drop your racket down and you're going to make sure that you tilt your strings down toward the ground. Now, the amount that you tilt your strings down will vary based on your grip. So the more Western your grip, the more the strings will point down. The more Eastern your grip, typically the less your strings will point down. But nonetheless, you need them to tilt down no matter what, because that is what's going to give you the strings facing forward at contact. Look, this is what it's all about. When you hit the ball, you need a vertical racket face at contact. Now, when you hit, if you have tremendous racket speed, you can get away with a slightly closed racket. And typically you will see the pros with the fastest racket speed with their racket slightly closed, a few degrees, just a few degrees closed at contact. But if you're someone who's just learning the game, thinking of the racket just being perfectly vertical at contact is the idea. And the way you accomplish that is by making sure the strings face slightly or a lot down, again, based on your grip, prior to contact. That is what allows you to swing low to high, imparting spin, and the ball goes in. See, when Simona dropped her racket, she didn't just drop to the level of contact, she dropped below contact. Here's contact. Let me draw a straight line straight along the height of contact. So that line represents the height she's going to be contacting the ball. Notice when she drops her racket in the back, she doesn't drop it level to contact, but rather she drops down below contact and then comes back up to the ball. Watch this. She follows the green line. She drops down below the level of the yellow line and then comes up to contact. Too many recreational players follow the red line, which means they smack straight into the back, which means the moment the ball leaves your racket, there's nothing controlling the ball. What the pros do is they will drop their racket head down below the level of contact. Then the racket, when they lift, and notice her hand is lifting up, when she swings up to contact, this is what imparts the spin. Dropping down below the level of contact and swinging low to high. Notice her racket is down below contact, and she's now going to go like this as she hits. Watch her racket follow that line. She's swinging from below the ball to above the ball. If we put that yellow line again on the screen, she's below the level of the yellow line, and now she's above. This is what gives you the control you're looking for because it puts very tight spin on the ball, which brings the ball down into the court. Then she goes back high again. Notice her racket is up here. Now, if we go back to the beginning, she had the racket at that same height. This is what's called high, low, high. Her racket follows that arrow, high, low, high. You want to be hitting forehands with a high, low, high swing. It helps keep the ball consistent and accurate because your swing matches the shape of the court. It gives you gravity-assisted racket speed. You're going to drop down. You're going to spin up the back of the ball. By the way, you'll notice she's hitting on the way up. So just follow her racket. Her racket's going down. It's going down. Now it's at its bottom. Now it's coming back up again. This is why the contact point has to be out in front of you. The contact point must be out in front because that's when the swing is going up. If you want to impart spin on the ball, you have to be hitting the ball as the racket is traveling up. That means the back of the ball is spun up, the front of the ball spins down, and the ball just spins like a bicycle tire or a car tire going down the road. Players who contact the ball back here, too far back, don't hit spin because that's when typically they go flat into the back. And they might even follow through up. But you'll notice at this point, if that smaller circle is the contact, I'm smacking straight into the back of it if I'm hitting the ball back there. So you've got to make sure that when you strike the ball, the contact point is in front of your body. You'll see the wrist laid back. So if we look right there, there's an angle between her forearm and racket. You've got to make sure that you have a difference between the forearm and the racket. Again, strings facing forward as the racket's traveling up. That gets your strings to face your target. Players who contact the ball back here, typically when you get them to finally contact out here correctly, they hit the ball way to the left if they're right-handed. You know, they hit the ball over there, like to this court that's next to them, because they don't have the angle in the wrist. So make sure that you are contacting out in front, but that you have an angle in the wrist to get your strings to actually face into your court. And then you can see she goes up. Now watch where her racket is. Her racket's up here now, but look where her racket goes to the finish. So her racket finishes by her left hip. That's not the worst thing in the world. Why? And it's not what you see me teaching here on YouTube. I'm teaching you to follow through up over the shoulder. She goes up to here. What I teach people is, look, just go over your shoulder like Serena or Agassi, or you could even go over your head like Rafael Nadal. She's finishing lower here, but that's not necessarily wrong. The reason I don't teach that typically is because I want you to go up here. And players who try to finish by their hip typically swing too much around their body, like a hula hoop around your hips. And the swing actually swings around them and they get side spin and they lose control and they lose accuracy. So make sure that you swing up to this point. And if you're doing that and you want to finish down by your hip, by all means, that's fine. The ball's gone. It doesn't even know that you're doing that. The key is that you're swinging up to that point, which is why I like to teach people to just go over the shoulder like Dominic Thiem when he's practicing his forehands. And the racket just naturally goes over the shoulder, but it ensures that you're swinging up as you hit the ball. So make sure that you're turning high and that your racket is up in the back so we can get gravity-assisted racket speed as it drops. Tilt your strings down at this point and drop the racket down below contact. Then swing up to contact, out in front with your strings facing forward, and finish back high. If you copy these ideas from Simona Halep, there is no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.